What's up guys, my name is Ace, and yesterday we got a relatively small but very important weapon balancing update that actually has some pretty big impact. So today we're going to be going through all of the nitty-gritty details of this update. And the first thing to start it off with is the broken FR556 underbarrel shotgun has been fixed now. If you guys weren't aware, I made a video about this about 3 or 4 days ago, and with this basically in Warzone only and only on the FR556, the underbarrel shotgun had some ridiculous range properties to where you could get a very consistent one-shot kill to an enemy that had full health and full armor out to like 15 meters. It was just so broken. There was nothing that even came close to competing with that. And it was definitely unintended. And Infinity Ward managed to get on top of that fairly quickly since it blew up in the community so fast. And it was a big problem. And they got that patch, so it no longer has that crazy one-shot kill potential. The underbarrel on the 556 is now the same as all of the other underbarrel shotguns on other weapons. But on top of this, they also applied a slight nerf to all of the underbarrel shotguns. So not just the FR556, this one's across the board. And it looks like what they've done here is they've just clamped the close range damage so that it's impossible to get a one-shot kill on a fully armored and full health enemy in Warzone with these underbarrel shotguns. Even if you're literally touching the enemy character and you hit every single pellet, you can no longer get a one-shot kill. Whereas pre-patch, you could get a one-shot kill, but you did have to be basically point blank and you did have to hit like every single pellet to make that happen. When it comes to this change, I don't think it really affects too much. I don't think people are using underbarrel shotguns all that much. And when they do, most situations, it's going to take them 2 shots anyway. But it is worth noting that you can no longer get that one-shot kill with an underbarrel shotgun in Warzone against full armor at least. So that was the first big update, and that one was really nice to see because that was absolutely broken. The next thing is the Bruen got another nerf, and this just got a nerf recently where they really cut down on its ranges, especially its 3-shot kill range. They practically destroyed it, and they just took it even further. So the first thing they did with the Bruen is they reduced the upper torso damage, and based on my testing here, what they actually did is they just eliminated the upper torso multiplier, and now you can't even get a 3-shot kill with the Bruen unless you're hitting headshots. So this was actually a major nerf to the Bruen. This wasn't just a little bit of tuning or something. They pretty much destroyed this gun. And the big thing here is this doesn't just apply to Warzone, which was where the Bruen mainly had its issues. It was becoming the #1 gun that pretty much everybody was using. But this nerf also impacts the Bruen pretty considerably in multiplayer as well. And honestly, at this point, you might as well be using a Holger because your time to kill is going to be exactly the same now as the Holger. But that wasn't even all they did to the Bruen. The next thing they did is they increased the recoil for the base Bruen. And if we have a look at the side-by-side here of pre-patch versus post-patch, you can definitely see there is more recoil. It's got more movement horizontally overall, and also it's got a higher magnitude of recoil, and it's very noticeable as well. And not only that, with the 60-round magazine on the Bruen, which was the most common attachment to use in Warzone, they added even more recoil to that on top of the increased recoil for the base version of the Bruen. And again, having a look at the comparison here, pre-patch versus post-patch, there is quite a bit more recoil here, and this is no longer going to be that super accurate laser beam that it once was. So yeah, when it comes to the Bruen, at least for Warzone, they've pretty much destroyed this gun now. I wouldn't recommend using this. And don't get me wrong, it's not like you can't use it and still have some success with it. It's just no longer a top tier weapon. It doesn't really stand out anymore. And like I said, at this point, you're probably even better off using a Holger, which is kind of ridiculous to think because a Holger isn't really all that powerful. In reality, though, in the LMG category, this really brings the PKM to the top now. And for a lot of people, the PKM is going to take that top spot now away from the Bruen. Not for me, though, just because I feel like the handling and mobility is way too slow on the PKM for my personal playstyle and for my liking. So I don't think I'll be switching to the PKM, but I think we're going to be seeing a lot more PKMs out there. But that's the Bruen. Now let's move on to the ISO. The ISO actually got a buff, and with this, the first buff is it got an increase to its base aim down sight movement speed. So when you're aiming down sight and you're either strafing side to side or trying to move forwards, pre-patch this movement speed was 62%, and post-patch it's now 65%. So definitely better, even noticeably so, but at the same time it didn't suddenly make this thing way powerful by increasing this value. As for the other thing they did, this involves the 50-round drum magazine. With this, they reduced the movement speed penalty while using these drum mags. And having a look at it pre-patch, our movement speed with the drum mag on the ISO was 88.5%, which is LMG movement speed. That's actually slower than some of the LMGs, which is insane for an SMG. Now, with the drum mag, our movement speed is 93%. So still a very noticeable reduction to your movement speed, but now instead of being at like LMG level, you're more so around assault rifle level with the 50-round drum. But finally, for weapon balancing, this leaves us with the 725 with the sawed-off barrel specifically. They didn't touch the base 725 shotgun, just the 725 with the sawed-off barrel on this. And the first thing they did is they slightly increased the aim down sight time with this barrel. So pre-patch, our aim down sight time with this was 250 milliseconds. Post-patch, it's 267 milliseconds. So it's 1 frame slower at 60 FPS. Not a big deal at all. Next up though, they also decreased our movement speed slightly while using this barrel. Pre-patch, our movement speed was about 98%. Now with this barrel, it's 97%, so a very slight reduction to movement speed when it comes to using that. You're still getting a really nice boost over the base movement speed with the 725. But finally, for the sawed-off 725, they said that they reduced the close lethal damage range. And based on my testing, pre-patch with this, we could get a one-shot kill out to right around 9 meters, and post-patch, it's right around 8 meters. So it reduced that one-shot kill range just a little bit. But this brings us to another thing I wanted to point out. Our point-blank damage itself, assuming we're hitting all pellets, is still over 300 damage. That is a ton of damage that you can deal per shot with the sawed-off shotgun. And that only applies while using this barrel, by the way. The base 725 can only deal 204 damage if all pellets hit at point-blank range. And this got me thinking I should test this in Warzone, so I hopped in and tested this against somebody that had full armor and full health, because if it is dealing 300 damage, that would be a one-shot kill, and that would be the only shotgun that can one-shot kill at this point, I believe. But it turns out they actually clamped the damage on the sawed-off version of the 725, and they made it so the maximum amount of damage you can deal if the enemy has full health and full armor is 150. So you can basically just strip their armor off with one single shot, but you won't get the one-shot kill with the sawed-off shotgun. But with that covers it for all of the weapon balancing changes that happened with this little update from yesterday. A couple other things they did mention here is they fixed an exploit near the prison in Warzone, and there was an area, I believe you could get inside a wall or in a rock or something. I saw a clip of it at some point. Looks like they have that one fixed, which is great to see. And also, they decided to remove the voiceover line from the high alert perk. And this is something they added at the beginning of Season 5, where if high alert activated, if somebody was looking at you from outside of your field of view, not only would you get that little yellow indicator on your screen, they also added a voiceover line that would tell you that somebody was looking at you. And based on my little bit of experience since the Season 5 update with that, it was getting very annoying because it was just happening constantly and there was always somebody talking in your ear, so they just decided to remove that completely. But there we have it. That's going to wrap it up for today's video. As for my thoughts on this, personally, I think they went too far with the Bruen. I think simply increasing recoil would have been enough. They didn't need to eliminate that upper torso multiplier, in my opinion, and they've effectively destroyed this LMG. As for the rest, it's all looking pretty good. The ISO, I would say, is still not a standout SMG, but it's slightly better than it was pre-patch, which is nice to see. Perhaps we could see more of a buff in the future for that as well. And yeah, that's going to wrap it up for today's video. I'd like to know in the comments section below, what did you guys think about this weapon balancing update? Are you happy with these changes? Unhappy? Just let me know down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated. And don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.